I'm ready. Apparently, my neighbors upstairs are ready. And so let's get it started. Hello, everyone. My name is Erin James, and this is a review of the film M3GAN, or M3GAN. It's spelled M3GAN. Film is written by Akilah Cooper, directed by Gerard Johnstone, starring Violet McGraw, Allison Williams, and Ronnie Chang, amongst a few others. Shout out to Jenna Davis and Amy Donald for playing M3GAN, the AI doll in this film. And so let's get into this review. The story M3GAN, the film M3GAN, is about an AI, or a doll with AI implemented into it, created by Allison Williams' character, I believe the name is Jenna, who works at this company, this toy company, and they're trying to be at the front lines, at the cutting edge of technology and toy manufacturing, so they can make their sales, make their money. And the character played by Violet McGraw is a young girl who lost her parents, and they give Violet the doll, pretty much the prototype of this AI doll, to connect with it and give it company. This doll is going to be promoted by the company to help parents in taking care of children. Anyway, the doll is there to protect emotionally and physically the child that imprints onto that doll. And the doll will protect at any means necessary, and that leads to a few complications because it leads to harming others. And that's where we get this thriller satire film. Now, when it comes to horror satire films such as Scream or Child's Play, I would say even Get Out is a horror satire, more satire than horror in my opinion, but that's an entire different conversation. M3GAN could have been up there with Scream. Scream, which I think is the top tier of horror satire. And I feel that M3GAN just missed the mark a bit because of lack of commitment. It felt very much like either Akilah Cooper or Gerard Johnstone wanted to make it campy, because there were moments of campiness which I really enjoyed, but they did not go all the way, or they did not commit. And then moments that didn't require such goofiness, they kind of did too much with it. Another one I think I'm forgetting is Evil Dead. I think those are great. Or Army of Darkness, the Sam Raimi film. I'm sorry, I can't think of it right now. Anyway, M3GAN had moments of fun. It was very entertaining, surprisingly entertaining. I didn't think I'd have as much fun going into it as I did. But again, it didn't commit to the campiness it could have been or could have had. Movies that release in January or the beginning of the year, the first quarter, a lot of times, especially when it comes to horror films, are the films that are throwaways. Either they're just bad, or the execs, I believe, do not have much faith in the film. And a lot of them do tend to do well or be surprisingly well. Sometimes they're just, because they're new properties, at least in the film realm, they're released early in the year because no one really knows how well they'll do, or they're from up-and-coming or first-time directors and writers. Now, M3GAN, of course, because it released on the first week of 2023, it was a bit concerning. Maybe this is going to be a bad, horrible film that was just going to be something to sit down, watch, and then forget. But again, it was surprisingly well done. The origin is not as well established or well executed the way it was in Child's Play for Chucky, and I'm comparing the two because they're both dolls that end up taking people's lives. But I can see a franchise through this that could be fun, like Child's Play, and just something to casually watch. Nothing to really praise or put up there, but something that I could sit down, watch, have fun with. Good date night, movie night, good time to have with, depending on the age of your children, and if you allow your children to watch stuff like this, to watch it with them. M3GAN is PG-13, so it's not too much of an issue. There is an R-rated version that is rumored to come out on streaming when it does become available on streaming, and I think M3GAN also failed at that. It felt like M3GAN, again, didn't only lack commitment to the campiness, but also to how gory and bloody it could have been. I think that it would have shined in that area, especially with how funny it was. When I say funny, I don't mean that in a bad way. There were moments in the film that were meant to bring out laughter from the audience, and I laughed a few times. especially the first 2 acts of the film. The audience did as well. It had jokes that hit very well. Now to the trailer. Of course, most people, I think, remember the trailer, at least the part of the trailer where M3GAN is dancing. And that scene should have been cut from the trailer. When watching the movie, there were parts in the movie that I remember seeing in the trailer, or rather, there were setups that you could see coming because of the trailer. And that's not to say that the trailer spoiled anything, but again, it showed more than it needed to. The dance scene especially should have been removed because when it happened in the film, when I was in the theater, it didn't hit the same. And I saw it coming, right? I saw, the red hall, right? The hallway. I said, okay, this is where the dance scene comes. And I was hoping that I would laugh from it the way I did watching the trailer, but because I had already seen it so much, right, either on the internet or it plays in front of every movie I watch, it didn't hit. And I feel it would have hit so much harder and would have been a knockout in the theater if it hadn't been shown in the trailer. There's not much to say about this movie without spoiling it. It was fun, entertaining. It had campiness to it. It reminded me of other films such as Child's Play. Very, very, very vaguely, maybe for a millisecond, iRobot, and Scream, as far as, how it feels almost satirical. But then there were moments where it felt that either, I don't know who it was, but it felt as if they were thinking maybe this could be taken more seriously if I present this element. About 15 minutes of the film could have probably been cut off. I'll be nice and say 10 minutes, especially the opening scene and one scene in the middle in particular. Because by the time we got to close to the end, I was kind of ready for it to just be over. I was ready for it to close out and just happen. Just like most horror films, it sets up for a sequel. And there's that. That's all I really have to say without spoiling it. That's the movie. The movie's pretty simple, basic, to the point. You can kind of get an idea of what it's about through the trailers. And just based off what I tell you, it is a killer AI doll, right? And you have the typical child that connects with this other world thing that ends up being the monster, and then you have this one adult that's trying to connect to the child in some way. Now we are going into spoilers. So here is a spoiler warning, and your only spoiler warning. You ready? All right, let's go. So the beginning, you see Violet McGraw's character's parents die. And that was whatever. That scene could have been cut because we realize what happens again. You're almost told again what happens pretty much 5 minutes later when we're introduced to Allison's character. So Allison's character is working on this AI doll that she's not supposed to be working on. Ronnie Chang plays her boss, and she's supposed to be working on these like Furby looking things. It's almost like a combination of like Furbies and Gremlins joined forces. And maybe they purposely meant to do that. Maybe teasing at something. You never know. I mean, people have been talking about a Gremlins remake. I hope they actually do not make a remake, especially this team. Just they haven't really shown me that they could do it successfully. So Allison is Violet's aunt, and she shows up to the hospital, and she picks up Violet, and they move in together. Allison didn't have plans to have children, at least not anytime soon, and she doesn't know how to really connect with the child, so she gives her M3GAN. M3GAN connects, and Violet imprints on M3GAN, and M3GAN does what it can to protect Violet. And that includes taking out a dog, taking out a neighbor, taking out a boy. And so you see that there's a problem. Allison, being the main character, sees that this doll is not functioning properly and tries to shut it down, which leads to the doll to even be more violent and ready to take people out. That's pretty much it. I enjoyed the kills, although the kills were kind of cut, and you can tell that there's a part of it that was cut out to make it PG-13. So I think we're going to see that stuff in the R-rated version if we see it, but not enough kills. I believe only 4 people die. 5 if you include a dog. But four. Throughout the whole movie, only four. And again, you don't see the kills. You see snippets of the kills, but nothing really. You see maybe some blood after what happened, but the blood's not like next to the body. You see the blood somewhere else or like flowing down somewhere, but you don't really see it. So there's that. There is one funny scene when a detective showed up and he laughed at what happened to the kid that got hurt, and then he said I shouldn't have laughed. It doesn't sound funny the way I'm saying it, but it was very funny seeing it in theaters. There were obvious setups in the movie, right? Like, oh, this is gonna be called back later, obviously, because there's a bigger AI at Allison's house, like the prototype, the first AI robot that she's ever made, and she's like, and she can control it and everything, and she's like, oh, this is something I've been working on. Immediately, I knew this is gonna be the machine that's gonna fight M3GAN at the end. Obvious. Then you see her house is a smart home. M3GAN's obviously going to hack into this and control the house. Cool. And then the Elsie, which is like an Alexa Lite, M3GAN connects to it, and I'm pretty sure she probably uploaded her data into that cloud of Elsie for the sequel, and she'll probably end up coming back, and that'll happen. Very likely. Obvious setup. Obviously, things that I expected to happen did happen, and it kind of took away from me because there were instances where it could obviously go a different direction. There could have been a misdirect with that robot never being used, and I think that would have been beautiful or very well done, beautifully done, because I was expecting it, and when it passed it, I thought, okay, maybe they're not going to go back to this robot, but then I saw it happening, and I was like, oh, well, never mind. Again, the movie could have been cut. There was this joke advertisement thing in the middle of the movie on this giant screen at where Allison works. That could have been cut out. It was trying to make this connection with Allison to feel more sympathy for Violet's character, but it wasn't necessary, and nothing would have been taken away if you removed that scene. Same with the death. Some dialogue could have been moved around. I didn't really care for the two colleagues or co-workers that Allison worked with. They were too dumb for me, like very 1990s dumb. Just when someone tells you their worries or concerns about something, it feels too cliche when people have doubts, especially obvious doubts, when everything they're saying feels super cliche and just like, it's impossible for this doll to kill anyone. We programmed it not to. Well, it did. And like, listen, even after Allison has evidence for them to have, they're still refusing to believe. Anyway, there's not much to this. James Wan did help with the story, production, right? But it seems that the movies that he produces, similar to Jordan Peele, are always questionable. And I'm wondering, do they know that this movie's not as good as their own films, and that's why they choose to only provide some idea and step back for the most part? And if they are they setting people up? Overall, I would say wait till this movie goes to streaming. I think you should watch it to have fun, but again, I don't know if it's worth theater price. Anyway, what did y'all think? Let me know. I'd love to know your comments. There have been mixed reviews about the movie. I think it's all right. Till next time, y'all take care of each other. Check up on one another. Check up on yourself. And remember, potential has no limit.